of him, and he's getting that well saturated before Karson was. If we look at the income tab, Karson is going to be vastly behind. So Karson at this point, he needs to push out, break this contain, break the army of Sieghetzt, and then work on getting that third up as soon as possible. Maybe even consider double expanding off of that and getting that fourth up as soon as possible. But at this point, I'm not really quite sure what Karson could do. He's behind in the income, he's behind in workers. 44 workers for Sieghetzt, only 27 for the Zerg player. So as a Zerg player, you don't want to be in this situation, but also the thing is, because he has so much less workers, if we look at the supply counts, they're pretty even, which means Karson's army is going to be that much stronger. Looks like he wants to engage at this point in the game. Will he be able to do a lot of damage? He's going to go all out with this. He's going to try and break this contain with just roaches alone, but looks like he's going to have to back out. There's going to be 3 DTs also warping in at this time, so these DTs will be able to do a lot of damage if there's not going to be an Overseer in place, which looks like the Overseer is going to be over here, but the engagement is already going to be starting. The Overseer is not in position. The DTs will be able to snipe off this one Spine Crawler before the Overseer is in place. Now the Overseer is in place. He will be able to kill off these DTs, and once the DTs will fall, he will be able to start defending this. And now more roaches are going to be reinforcing this. Looks like he might actually be able to break this contain from Sieghetzt. Karson is going to be pushing this and also able to break this contain, doing a lot of damage to Sieghetz's army. And now wants to put on a little bit of pressure with these roaches. I would like to see him expand off of this now that he is safe. He does have enough minerals to expand. He wants to do a little bit of damage. He's going to be poking him. Maybe he's going to engage these cannons. Sieghetzt should be able to should defend these cannons, but he was not in position to deal with those cannons. And now Karson was able to break out of there. But now also Sieghetzt has been able to get 2 robotics base, is working on 2 robotics facilities, is going to be working on 2 immortals at the same time, and now these roaches are going to be poking in, being able to blast away 1 cannon, and now going back again, not losing a single roach in that engagement. But once these immortals are out, these roaches will be a little bit less useful. I don't know why Sieghetzt is breaking down these rocks. That just opens up another avenue of attack for Zerglings, and looks like he's too busy breaking down the rocks. These roaches will be able to focus down now. 1 Stalker, looks like he's also able to get off 1 Zealot. It would be nice to see him stop this upgrade. He's able to snipe off one more Stalker, able to snipe off another Stalker, another Zealot. Oh my god, Karson, another Zealot. Karson is doing so much damage with these roaches. In fact, I don't think he lost a single roach in these exchanges, because I don't see like one of those carcasses or like the animation of it dying. So this is amazing. That was an amazing micro dancing back and forth, able to do so much damage. He was able to pick off at least 3 or 4 Stalkers and like 3 or 4 Zealots in those exchanges without losing a single roach. So if we look at the units lost tab, oh my god, Sieghetzt is going to be behind, but at the same time, Karson does not have a really good economy. He's still only on 28 workers against the 52 of Sieghetzt. He needs to start working on getting a new base up as soon as possible. I keep saying that, and the truth is, he does have enough minerals to expand at this point in the game. He also does have enough minerals to, he has a big enough army to warrant droning up at this point, because once again, if we look at the units have 115 to 100, but you have to remind yourself that there's going to be a lot of drones in that, but it looks like there's going to be 4 immortals in this stage, not enough Zerglings. Zerglings are also going to be skirting around to try and focus down the immortal. Good play by Karson, but there's just not enough Zerglings in this engagement, and there's just going to be way too many immortals, and those immortals will be able to do a lot of damage to these roaches. These blood splatters are going to be from those Zerglings and roaches, so he did lose a lot in that exchange. And so Karson once again is going to be, right now, if I had to guess, I would have to give the lead to Sieghetzt, believe it or not. Karson does have a bigger army in a sense, and he does have a pretty good composition. He does have that Roach Lane going on, which is pretty good, but the problem is now that Sieghetzt is getting a better composition slowly but surely with these immortals. He's working on the thermal lance upgrade for his Colossus, and he's on 2 bases with better saturation and better mining. Right now, Karson is still on 28 workers. And that's a pretty bad situation. And right now it looks like Roach Burrow just kicking in for Karson. So Karson will be able to start regenerating. And I'm not quite sure I agree with this, but it looks like the concave is going to be powerful enough for Karson to do a lot of damage to these immortals. Immortals are going to be falling, and a lot of Stalkers also did fall, but it looks like there's going to be Dark Templars warping in. That's a lot of DTs warped in by Sieghetzt. These emergency DTs have been able to push this army back, and the reason why I didn't agree with that was because even though the concave was good, the Zerglings were all clumped up on the ramp, effectively not doing enough damage. What I would have liked to see is if he just ran past that and attacked the natural, the Protoss army would have had to come out, and then any sort of reinforcing roaches, like the 5 roaches on the way right now, and any sort of lings would have been coming up from here, and he would have engaged and got a surround on the Protoss army. Probably would have been able to do a lot more damage. Not really quite sure I agreed with that engagement there, but it's okay. It turned out he did come out ahead in the end anyways, but I fear that he or I feel like he would have gone out. He would have gone a bit bigger of a lead at this point, doing that. It looks like both players are going to be working on their thirds at this point. So once again, Karson is going to be wanting to expand. Once again, he really needs to expand like a lot. The fact is, he don't want to be on equal basis with the Zerg, with the Protoss player as a Zerg. But it looks like he was able to, in fact, kite away from those DTs and made those DTs really cost ineffective. Zerglings are also going to try and do a counterattack. And the reason why I say they were cost ineffective was that the roaches were able to just micro and kite back away against the DTs because there were these overseers. And it looks like the Zerglings are going to be engaging against these probes. Well, the Zerglings were not able to focus fire down the Nexus. Zerglings are going to burrow. Good play by Karson. Karson wants to use pretty much every unit to the best of his abilities. Looks like the roaches are going to be engaging at this point, but there's also going to be a couple Colossus out, but there's actually going to be a lot of roaches, and I feel like Karson can do a lot of damage at this point. Remember, if we look at the supply counts, Karson is ahead, but also is ahead because he's so far behind in drones, 29 drones at this point. So, if we look at the units tab, there's going to be 2 Colossus, 2 Stalkers, 1 Immortal, 1 DT, and 7 Zealots to 34 roaches. These roaches can do so much damage if he wanted to at this point. And it looks like he's going to back out at this point though, so I'm kind of wondering why he's not attacking. Maybe he's not quite sure how big the army of Sieghetzt army really is. Looks like the cannon will finish and these Zerglings will be blasted away by this cannon, and the Zergling is finally going to die over there. But once again, the army of Karson is getting larger and larger at the moment, but the problem is that Sieghetzt will be able to macro up a bigger army if this game goes on any longer, so Karson needs to make something happen right now. He does have good saturation at this base, but he needs more drones on the double. The problem is that his main is mined out, so all he did was transfer over more workers. He did not make as many workers as I said he should have, and in fact he's only on 2 Vespene Geysers at this point, because he's been making such a mineral heavy composition of just roaches and lings, because roaches do cost 75 minerals and 25 gas, so he doesn't need that much gas. But at this point he's going to be working on that the Spire, working on Corruptors to counteract the Colossus, so he's going to need a little bit more Vespene Geysers at this point. He also needs to get a 4th up as soon as possible, because like I said, his saturation is just going to be so bad. And oh my god, he's working on 5 drones, which is pretty good at this point, but he needs to start making something happen. He also has a huge army, so if he pushes out right now, he will also be able to do a lot of damage. But at the same time, Sieghetzt is going to be working on a 4th base. So oh my god, Sieghetzt is actually playing like a Zerg in a sense. He's expanding like crazy, but the problem is he's making himself really vulnerable at this point. So if Karson runs in right now, he will be able to do a lot of damage, especially if he waits for that +1 missile attack. He will be able to do a lot of damage with that timing attack when that upgrade finishes. Right now, the Protoss is only going to be on +1 attack. He has not started on shields or armor at this point. And we might be seeing a little bit of push out. I don't know. He's dancing back and forth at this point. Not really quite sure what he's going to do. And Karson looks like he wants to push. Is he going to push? Is he going to push and go all the way at this point? Looks like we're going to see a couple DTs warping in over at this location. This DT might be able to do a little counterattack. He's moving this DT over to a base that doesn't exist because he feels like the Zerg should be on more bases. It looks like they're going to be engaging right now. The Corruptors are able to focus fire down 1 Colossus. It looks like the Roaches are going to be burrowing, and he wants to get under these positions, but the problem is they're going to be cannons, letting him know that the Roaches are going to be burrowing. They will be able to fire at the Roaches while they're burrowed, but at the same time, the Roaches were able to unburrow and blast away a lot of Colossus. I feel like he lost so many Colossus in that exchange. These Corruptors are also going a little bit unchecked, because the only anti-air right now are going to be 1 Stalker and a couple of Sentries, and Sentries just aren't really good damage dealers in general. And it looks like the DT is going to be here in Sad Panda, because there is not going to be any expansion. And no, don't tell me. Oh my god! 18 kills on this Dark Templar. No, he lost every single worker at this expansion to this 1 Dark Templar. It looks like he might be losing this expansion as well. So during this attack, Karson was not ready for that DT counterattack. He did do a lot of damage by burrowing and was able to come out on top of this Colossus and do a lot of damage. Looks like he also wants to do a counterattack onto this mining base. Will it be enough? He might be caught out of position once these units are run over. And looks like there's also going to be a lot of DTs being warped in. He did in fact lose that hatchery at this point in the game. Also, the Colossus are going to try and do their best to get in position, but the Corruptors are able to focus fire down that 1 Colossus. Will he be losing the 2nd Colossus as well? It looks like he will be losing that Colossus as well. And these Roaches are going to be able to focus fire down these Zealots, and now they're going to be running into this Immortal. Will he be able to focus fire down this Immortal? It looks like the Immortal did lose his hardened shields and is going to be falling very soon. He was able to, in fact, focus fire down that Immortal, but it looks like DTs are once again going to be warped in. There's not going to be any Overseers in place. Looks like the only Overseers, no, these are Overlords. In fact, he's just making these Overseers, so he's going to have to back out at this point in the game. And oh my god, Karson, what is going on? Toss is oh man, Karson.